So I gotta do this over one more time. Please hit the like button, subscribe. This is exclusive news that's coming in right now. This Can't Face It Boxing. Just did this video once, but didn't turn out well. Didn't turn out well. So let me try this again. Uh, Panda basically admitted that recently Shakur Stevenson fight was supposed to happen in September, and that there were plans for that fight to happen. And recently, a lot of people were saying that Shakur Stevenson was not trying to put a fight together. He was ducking. They said that the Joe Cordina fight was not really good. And this is very exclusive information. This is good information. So please hit the like button on this one. But he said that a lot of people said that Joe Cordina fight wasn't a good fight, and that Shakur Stevenson fighting him after him coming off a knockout loss as a champion was not a good choice for an opponent. But the information I'm getting right now is that Panda, who was a coach of William ZEPEDA, was in talks with Shakur Stevenson before September. So around the time that people were talking about him and Tank Davis, him and ZEPEDA was already in talks. I was telling people that they had verbally agreed. I thought the verbal agreement was very serious. I didn't think they tried to dance around the fact that those guys wanted to fight each other. I never thought that ZEPEDA was scared or trying to dance around the fact of that fight. He at one point he said he would fight all these guys, and when a fighter says that, he usually means it. I know a lot of people will just call out guys and say somebody's ducking, but he got straight to the point and said he wanted to make the fight happen. And I put out news that in November, he was supposed to have a child, and a lot of people were talking. Well, he was talking about not really having to fight until after his child was born. But Panda gave us some good information on the whole situation and broke it down to the point where everybody can kind of figure out what's going on. But the information I got was that Panda had got an offer, and with Shakur Stevenson ready, he says, I can tell you, what I can tell you is with Shakur ready, with Shakur we were ready. We wanted this date in November. Shakur wanted it in September. I said that already. But Shakur was trying to fight in October, so September don't really make sense to me though. Kind of confused on that end. But Cameroon had just became a father and everything, and he didn't want to. So this time he had a child. This time he had to be present at the birth of his child. And I, as the team leader, which is Panda saying, decided not to take the fight in September. So it wasn't ZEPEDA that turned down the fight. It wasn't Shakur Stevenson that turned down the fight. It was the circumstances. And it was the coach and team and everyone else that recommended that allegedly ZEPEDA should not fight Shakur Stevenson. Now with Shakur Stevenson being injured at this point right now, it makes a lot of sense. And it's a good thing that the fight wasn't placed down, because now he would have had to find replacements, and trying to just put that fight together and negotiate it again would have just been too much. Trying to hold ZEPEDA down until Shakur Stevenson got hit Wells or healthy. So it worked out in the end because he was already hurt. But Panda said that he didn't want to take that fight though in September just because of the circumstances. Not saying that he wasn't ready just to be ready. And I can understand that because ZEPEDA was ready to fight. He was like, hey, we can make it happen. If I want to do something, we can do something. But Panda's like, no, this is a one-time thing. So you only have a couple of months left. You already spent most of the year fighting and training. So take some time off, and then next year you can come back with a vengeance. But he's still fighting in November though. That's the whole part of it. So even if Shakur wanted to fight in November you still had the injury, so that would have played a part, but that lets you know that Shakur Stevenson was ready to fight. Shakur Stevenson was also ready to step in for Oscar Valdez when he was fighting Burchell. And I know a lot of people said, well, Shakur always saying that. He fought Valdez, though. He was ready to step in for Ryan Garcia versus Devin Haney. He was ready to step in for Frank Martin versus Tank Davis. So it's a lot of times he's actually tried to jump in and make certain fights happen. That's not a surprise to me. But with Panda saying what he said about the whole situation and the Shakur fight, it puts a huge perspective out there. It wasn't Cameroon. It was a person, somebody else who makes the decisions. You'll never hear William Zepeda anything about William Zepeda. You'll never hear anything about William Zepeda. If I tell William Zepeda to fight tomorrow, he fights tomorrow. And he said, this is the blessing we have with him, but I, as a coach, as a person of this team, together with Jaime Picos, who was the manager, we made those decisions, and I think we made the right decision. Said Golden Boy, they agreed with me. In fact, they were the ones who said, wait for me, calm down. We're a month away from the fight. Are you sure? And we didn't take the fight. So he said Golden Boy was kind of insisting, like, you ain't got to rush. Are you sure about trying to get this done right now? So Zepeda, his coach and his manager, was centered around the decision not to go through with the fight. And the reason why I bring this up is because Shakur Stevenson is somebody who's had a lot of backlash lately as far as certain fights and not taking them, and him being a person that doesn't want to fight the best, and he's run and he just talks all the time. Well, this is the closest I've seen anybody from Lomachenko, Tank, anybody that fighting Zepeda. So he can't be too scared. If he's scared, these other guys are more scared because they haven't even got that close to getting Zepeda in the ring. And this is where Panda was saying Shakur don't send out contracts. Coach Panda insinuates Team Stevenson did not offer Zepeda a fight. And of course he's not going to offer Zepeda a fight because he's not a manager and he don't write contracts. That ain't his job. There ain't no fighter job. Zepeda ain't sending out no contracts. And he got Tank Davis trying to get a fight with him. So as far as I know Tank Davis was trying to get a fight before Frank Martin started calling out Zepeda. And what did they tell Frank Martin? Hey, if you fight Shakur Stevenson, then we'll fight you. And then shout out to Mill City Boxing. They've had Panda on plenty of times, and he was revealing that Shakur never fought a killer like Zepeda. So they're very confident in their fighter. And that lets you know that they had their eyes set on Shakur Stevenson for a while. Now they know that he's been trying to put that fight together. And behind the scenes, people know that possibly he was going to try to deal with Eddie Hearn and some other fighters. Eddie Hearn and some other promoters. And those guys are going to have some fighters available that's trying to make some fights happen. And Zepeda doesn't have a belt. So Zepeda can go out here, fight Shakur Stevenson, lose, and he can be in the same position he was before. He didn't have a belt anyways. And I think 135 going to get crowded soon, so he needs to try to make some kind of decision on what he's going to do at that weight class, because 140 is not going to get easier. The guys from 135 can get bigger, stronger, older. You got a lot of young guys like Floyd Schofield, who's also on Golden Boy. So it's going to be more Floyd Schofields that come up and threaten the whole division and scare these guys off, because it's not going to get easier at 135. 135 is a very natural weight class that a lot of human beings are around the weight class of 135, or they box at 135. That's always going to be a good weight class. Always going to be a top weight class. 135, 154, 140, you can always bet there's going to be at least 3 or 4 contenders in that weight class at all times. So that's the battle you got to go with. If you're Zepeda, are you going to do that now, or are you going to wait? And I think Zepeda's in a good position. He can make a lot of things happen, but he has to be able to turn that corner. And like Panda said recently, talks began with Shakur Stevenson. and ZEPEDA for the WBC lightweight title. So that's my confirmation right there. If anybody want to know, the talks already began with Panda and William ZEPEDA with Shakur Stevenson's team. They were ready for a late November or December, but it wasn't a lot of dates around there. You already know that Tank Davis was trying to fight in November. He couldn't fight in November. If Tank Davis couldn't fight in November and he moved the date, what you think? You think Shakur Stevenson was going to find a date in November or December? No, he wasn't going to do it because PBC still trying to put dates together. They had to squeeze in Tim Tszyu, and Fundora and Spence was supposed to fight in October. So a lot of this stuff is all over the place. But yeah, hit the like and subscribe.